D'Angelo Russell is one of the most interesting players in the NBA and has had a weird career so far. Before becoming an All-Star in 2019, Russell was mostly known for snitching on Nick Young and for plays like this.
But then a three by Rodriguez, Sergio Rodriguez.
Long arms of Brandon Ingram, even though he seemed like he was out of the play.
Russell was then traded to Brooklyn as a sweetener in an effort for the Lakers to create enough cap space in order to acquire LeBron James. When Russell got traded to Brooklyn, he blossomed into the first option on a playoff team, and was even named an All-Star in 2019 as a replacement. Despite his ascension, he has been traded 2 more times in the past year, and is now on his 4th team in 5 years. Although he is putting up a solid 22 points and 6 assists per game, there has been a wide range of opinions, from people that believe he is capable of breaking the NBA, to others that think he is a solid starter at best. Hi, my name is Daniel, and today I'm going to explain where D'Angelo Russell stands for me. To find out Russell's impact on the court, I broke his game down into 3 aspects: scoring, passing, and defense. So for D'Angelo Russell, scoring is his biggest strength. He lives in the mid-range and 3-point area and attacks by using the pull-up or step-back jumper. His bread and butter is the pick and roll, where you can either pull up from a screen or use his patented floater. Now, when you look strictly at Russell's stats from the past 2 seasons, he put together 2 pretty solid years where he averaged 20 plus points and 6 assists per game. However, when I took a deeper look at his game, there were 2 things that really stood out. First, Russell struggles to get to the free throw line. Before this season, the most free throw attempts Russell has averaged were 3 attempts per game. Even now, he only takes 4.5 attempts per game, which is relatively average for guards. And part of that is because Russell struggles in the paint. Here are some stats from the past 2 seasons. In the 2018-19 season, he shot 54.8% in the restricted area, and in the 2019-20 campaign, he only shot 38.9% in the non-restricted area, where he usually uses his floater. And one reason he struggles around the paint is due to his lack of foot speed. When the opposing team's big switches onto Russell, he often has trouble getting past them and thus settles for long 2s and step-back 3s, which leads into my second point: his reliance on the mid-range shot. I want to preface this by saying that although I believe the mid-range jumper is the most inefficient shot in basketball, I actually support players continuing to take those shots if that's part of their game. Since teams are told to protect the paint and the 3-point shot, I believe that this frees up many opportunities for guards and forwards to continue taking advantage of the mid-range area. Chris Paul and Chris Middleton are great examples of this. And to Russell's credit, he shot 48.6% from mid-range this season, which is by far the best percentage of his career. And to put things in perspective, this is better than notable mid-range shooters such as Kawhi Leonard, Kyrie Irving, and Damian Lillard. However, the biggest question is if Russell can continue at this rate. Before this season, Russell was only a 42% mid-range shooter. If Russell wants to continue using the mid-range, he will need to shoot it at a high efficiency for the offense to be explosive. Although Russell's reputation is known to be a high-volume scorer, I believe he's actually one of the most underrated passers in the league. When looking at his stats, he's averaging a decent 6.3 assists and 3.3 turnovers. And on paper, that doesn't look that great, but there's more to his passing than just those numbers. First, when you're playing with a bunch of casuals, aka the Golden State Warriors roster, Russell is bound to have the ball almost every possession of every game, which makes him more prone to turnovers. And something that is also important to note is that Russell does have a couple lazy passes per game, which does lead to fast break opportunities. But there are many things he does well. In the pick and roll, Russell has the ability to set up teammates cutting to the basket or for alley-oop. And oftentimes, he'll put the defender on his back and freeze the big man, which will lead to alley-oops around the rim or his floater. He puts the ball in a spot where the roller doesn't need to stop their momentum, which creates many easy baskets. And many times, he will need to thread the needle between 2 defenders to get the pass where it needs to be, which looks harder than you may think. But there was really one thing that I was really surprised by, and it's that Russell is not tunnel vision. You will find a teammate that was not involved in the pick and roll if they're coming off an off-ball screen or cutting to a position where they can score. He also knows where his teammates are on the floor, and his focus on scoring does not deter him from finding a teammate that has a better opportunity to score. And on a fast break, sometimes he'll slow down and wait for either a big or guard to streak down the floor for easy layups and dunks. And to show his court vision, look at this no-look pass between Daniel Tice and Jaylen Brown to Malik Beasley for the easy layup. Now I know that it's been known that Russell is a bad defender, but here are a couple things I want to break down. The biggest issue when it comes to Russell's defense is his lack of effort and awareness, which makes him almost like a traffic cone. You will see many times where the opposing team will try to get a switch on him because it's so easy for the offensive player to just blow by him. And again, part of that is definitely due to his lack of foot speed. However, when players such as Steph Curry or Kemba Walker, who are not known to be great defenders or super quick, still put the effort to at least try and stay in front, this makes Russell's lack of effort inexcusable. And once the offensive player drives by Russell, he doesn't pursue the ball or a player that may be open to the drive. This puts a lot of pressure on the defense by leading to a lot of easy layups, dunks, or kick-out threes. However, Russell is actually decent at something on defense. He's pretty decent in the passing lanes. He's averaged at least just over a steal a game for 4 of the 5 seasons in his career so far. And when he's engaged, he will anticipate the pass when a player is cutting to the basket or a kick out for a 3. But with that being said, Russell is unaware of off-ball screens and doesn't have the ability to fight through them, which opens up either a shot for his assignment or for someone else. And to make matters worse, he doesn't put in the effort to close out on a shooter when he's beat. Finally, in transition, you'll see Russell being lethargic and giving up on the play way too easily. Unlike most people, I do believe, however, that he can actually be an average defender if he puts in more effort on the defensive end. He has a pretty decent wingspan at 6'10 for a shooting guard and has some defensive IQ, which helps him get those steals. I don't believe he can ever be a good on-ball defender, but he has some tools that he can use to be a better team defender. So after looking at these 3 things, I would say that Russell is a high volume, somewhat inefficient scorer who's an underrated passer and below average defender. But that doesn't matter. The question is, can he improve from who he is right now? And my answer to that is yes, and let me explain why. First, he's only 24 years old and he gets to play with the best big man in his career, in Cat. If you've noticed, Russell has only played with big men that can roll to the basket, such as Marquise Chris, Jared Allen, and the GOAT, Timofey Mozgov. The Russell Towns pick and roll has a chance to be one of the most offensively explosive plays in basketball next year, because Towns is so versatile offensively, which basically opens up every play that the defense needs to be aware about. With players such as Juancho Hernangomez and Malik Beasley in the corners and wings, almost every play is available, which makes the Timberwolves offense hard to stop. The other reason for his potential to improve is because of the Wolves' high lottery pick. They have the 3rd best odds right now, which we know now can either help them get the 1st pick or drop down to as low as 8th. One thing that's worth mentioning, however, is the fact that Russell is actually a much better shooter coming off the ball than in the pick and roll. For the last 2 seasons, Russell is a 39% shooter off the ball and only a 34% shooter when pulling up. If the Timberwolves are lucky enough to have a high pick, they can either draft LaMelo Ball or Tyrese Halliburton, who are both ball handlers that can pass. Now, I know what people are going to say. That pick doesn't make much sense because Russell is an on-ball dominant player. However, if you really think about it, no NBA player in the league wants to have the ball in their hands at all times. When James Harden got another ball handler in CP3 and now Russell Westbrook, the Rockets became more offensively explosive. And another more recent example of this is Ricky Rubio with Devin Booker. I don't want to get too deep into this topic, but here's what I will say. Booker last year attempted 24% of his shots when taking 7+ dribbles, and has decreased that frequency rate to 15% this year. And as a result, he has gotten way more efficient, increasing his true shooting from 58.4 to 61.7 this past year. And for D'Angelo Russell, he has attempted 27% of his shots when taking 7+ dribbles for the last 2 seasons, which shows me that he has the ball way too much. Russell can move off the ball when he has another ball handler like Ball or Halliburton, which would create more open shots for him instead of isolating so much. I believe that this will help improve his scoring efficiency and the Timberwolves offense overall. So that's the end of the video. Thank you guys for watching. If you did, please hit the like and subscribe button. My name's Daniel, and I'll see you guys next time.